Josh and Frankie. What a couple of dumb shits.
You're not gonna believe your ears. Trust me, you're gonna want to hear this. Hello, primates. You found Primus tracks. Congratulations. Yes, sir. Can't believe we got Maynard to do that. Yes, indeed, you have found Primus tracks. I am Josh, coming to you from the Primus Tracks bunker far below the earth. He is way up there on the 39th floor of Primus Tracks Towers where the business actually takes place. It's Frankie Berestein.
Hi, Josh.
Welcome back from spring break, Frankie. We get to talk about new Primus. How great is that?
Unbelievable.
Primus dropped a new tune with their pal Maynard James Keenan. It is called Pablo's Hippos. We're going to talk about that today. And hell, our buddies in Primus are out on tour with Pucifer and A Perfect Circle, celebrating the 60th birthday of one Maynard James Keenan. So there's a lot to talk about as they're currently on tour, and they've dropped new songs, and there's all kinds of wild stuff going on as a result of this tour. Whew. I'm glad we came back right on time for that, Frankie.
Yep.
Those of you watching on video, right next to me is the Sessanta E.P.P.P, which does E.P.P.P, which does feature brand new tracks by all three bands that are out on tour. This one.
Speaking about the E.P.P.P, Josh,
Yeah.
were you able to figure out what Karina is saying while she's attending Maynard? Because she switches her accent. It's really evident, but I can't figure out what she's actually saying.
Right. So Frankie, of course, is referencing one of many, I think, promo videos that preceded this tour and this E.P.P.P, which is fun to say, release. Maynard is in his old man garb because he's turning 60, and 60, of course, means you're ancient. And so he's looks like he's 130 and can't control his bladder. Bedpans, Frankie, especially the ones that are overflowing, always funny. Base humor, but it works. No, I have no idea what she's saying. I only watched those promo videos once or twice. It didn't stick, other than old man Maynard spilling his own bedpan on himself.
If any of our listeners figured out what Karina is saying, would you please help us out? I mean,
Yeah. I will say those promo videos are entertaining.
they are fantastic.
And they set the stage for what people are going to experience, I assume, out on the Sessanta tour.
But we got to point out that it's actually Les who pioneered the old man thing with FX way back in 2006 with Blame It on the Fish.
Yes, we could say Primus did it. The Primus 2065 with 102-year-old Les Claypool talking about his band or his legacy. It was a little bit more mature, we'll say, Les's approach was. So Primus out on tour right now as we're recording this episode with A Perfect Circle and Pucifer to celebrate Maynard James Keenan's 60th birthday. It is known as Sessanta. My understanding is that the demand for the initial show or shows inspired a more lengthy tour, and we have 21 dates now for this tour, and rehearsals between all three bands got together in the L.A. area, I understand, to hash out what the show would look like and who's going to play on what. And those rehearsals resulted in the Sessanta E.P.P.P, with one new song from each band, and Maynard, of course, guests on the Primus track that rounds out that recording. I have a special connection to the term E.P.P.P, not only because of the repetition of the letter P and how fun it is to say. My oldest beagle, Pearl, was difficult to potty train, and I believe beagles are notorious for being difficult to potty train. And so as we trained her, and she inevitably piddled in places we didn't want her to, especially in the house, we just nicknamed her P.P. And we still call her P.P. to this day. So E.P.P.P. makes it sound like my dog made a short audio recording. We talked about the Sessanta promos with old man Maynard. This tour heavily promoted and big-time demand as they expanded the tour to 21 dates, and they decided to go whole hog with it. We have, as I point at the record here, Frankie, we have promo art and cover art for the audio release by Zoltron, our good pal, gig posters for each band each night, as well as a Sessanta event poster for each night. They're even doing t-shirts with the individual artwork for the Sessanta gigs each night. And going one step beyond even that, one step beyond there it is, the one step beyond the E.P.P.P. that is right next to me that was available for mail order or digital download. I opted for the digital download. Frankie went for it with the record. You can procure your own E.P.P.P. at these shows that's autographed by everybody in each band, and unlike the mail order record, contains instrumental tracks of each of the 3 tunes. So of course they had to make it
the mail
special.
order E.P.P.P. features an etching on the B-side with the 3 characters on the cover. I am fully convinced that the guy in the middle, which obviously represents Primus, is a homage to the artwork of the Sausage Tape from 1988. I mean, it's gotta be, right?
The gluttonous figure in the middle, the figure with the green hair that's parted, brushed to one side.
That's Perfect Circle.
That's Perfect Circle.
I guess. Yeah.
And then the little green man is Pucifer?
Yeah, and I'm convinced that the guy in the middle the guy representing Primus, it's gotta be a direct reference to the bald guy on the cover of the Sausage Tape.
It's eerily reminiscent for those of you with visual memories like Frankie. So you might be onto something, considering this was a Zoltron product. Maybe he was taking us back. You never know.
Merch has been on great demand. Stuff has been selling out. Posters are flying. Anything that is remotely signed is snapped up immediately. And of course, all the variants of the E.P.P.P. are bound to be incredibly sought after collector's items in the very near and distant future. I mean, they're already going for very high prices on eBay on secondhand. So the best time to procure one is, of course, at the show. And I'm just hoping that whenever I finally get mine, it will be a cool color. Because, I mean, all of them are nice so far, but I think some are a little cooler than others.
And we should point out there are 21 variants for each of the 21 shows. So you have 21 color variants of the show edition E.P.P.P. Now, I have a feeling, Frankie, you're going to go for all 21.
Oh, no way. That's impossible. I mean, I doubt anyone will ever actually be able to own all the variants, because the show from last week, from Sunday last week, that one actually was advertised as a kind of marbled orange, but in the text they specified that that was just one of several color gateways that they would have at the show. So that one in particular could be out there in countless iterations.
Well, you completionists have your work cut out for you. Good luck. So let's talk about the Primus role on this tour. It's an interesting setup in which all 3 bands are on the stage simultaneously. There is a extremely tall drum riser in the back half of the stage.
And there's a lounge for band members to rest at and have something to drink.
Some of this was presaged by those South Park shows, because all bands for the South Park shows, Primus, Ween, and Matt and Trey and their backing bands were on and off the stage, but they each had their own setup. People came and went. Of course, when Geddy and Alex came on stage for those South Park shows, they stayed on stage, had a couple of lawn chairs to sit on it and enjoy the show from the middle of the stage. So we're seeing something somewhat similar with the stage setup for Sessanta, with all 3 bands on stage, all 3 drummers set up on giant risers, and, yes, places for people to sit when they're not playing and enjoy the show. There also, I believe, is some kind of a mobile assistant for people to, like stair climbing assistant, and I believe it's been utilized by Maynard and Les and others throughout the tour, because of old. It's funny.
Les has been using it, yeah, during the shows.
That's right. So they're playing on the age thing, having fun with the stage setup. I even saw a daring audience member, as we know, Maynard not a fan of phones and cameras being out during the show, and he will harp on that all night long, but he allows recording of the final tune of the evening if everybody's good, as he says. But there was one daring audience member who got footage of Tim Alexander and Josh Freese, maybe, or somebody, I forget who, playing ping pong against each other on stage while Maynard was singing right by them. So
there's actually a video preceding the concert where Maynard informs people that they will be grinded into spam should they violate the no phones policy.
Yeah, that's right. Metaphorically ground into spam. Obviously, the literal interpretation is that they will be tossed from the venue and not allowed to re-enter. So don't be a martyr. Just go enjoy it. As far as Primus goes, they're playing 7 or 8 tunes a night. Largely those live staples from the reports we've seen, Frankie. A lot of Jerry, Mud, Pachyderm, Here Come the Bastards, the Beaver tune. American Life made an appearance. I think they dropped a grapevine or two at this point.
Yeah, and when Wynonna's Big Brown Beaver featured Billy Strings on stage.
Yeah, so they did say to expect anything at these shows, and I expected 100% a Billy Strings sit-in at some point at that Tennessee date. You knew it was coming.
Sergeant Baker has been appended to Too Many Puppies on several nights, and of course, I would say, well, so far I think the highlights in terms of Primus are that Follow the Fool has reared its head, and Tommy the Cat features Maynard on vocals for the Tom Waits portion, and it features the 6-string bass. So that's first Tommy the Cat on a 6-string bass in a very long time.
Yeah. We should also mention that, once again, daring video was taken of Maynard performing Tommy the Cat, and he's essentially sitting at a desk reading the lyrics under a lamp, and he's almost delivering it in a Shatner-like way. It's good. I appreciate what he's doing because he's doing it awkwardly and he's doing it annoyingly on purpose. And I'm sure some of us purists are irritated by that, but I think I know what he's going for based on the footage I've heard and seen. And it's kind of funny. We should also mention, man, this is kind of a cool way to come full circle with Primus hanging out with the Tool dudes one way or another. As we know, they toured together on Lollapalooza in 93, and then since then, they've done all kinds of fun stuff together. Justin and Danny were at the benefit show for Jimmy Hayward, playing with Primus, of course. Danny subbed for Tim Alexander for a bunch of shows many years ago now, Primus shows, that is. Adam Jones did a gig poster for a Primus show way back when. Justin, of course, was the Goblin Master on the Desaturating 7, and now Primus has done a track and a tour with Maynard. So those connections coming full circle between Primus and Tool. Of course, Danny and Les recorded a bunch of tracks with Adrian Belew, some of my favorite Les Claypool tracks. All kinds of connections.
Collaborations, yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun, Sessanta does. Frankie, it's too bad it's coming.
Smiles, lots of love, lots of fun.
Yeah, too bad it's coming nowhere near me. I'll get the DVD.
In 10 years.
How about this, Les? I'll get the Sessanta DVD after you release the Ogden Goblin shows.
Please, yeah.
A couple other things to note from the tour, and we know that Tim Alexander is playing on the Perfect Circle track, The Hollow, which he originally recorded with the Perfect Circle back in 2000. All three bands perform at the very end with the E.P.P.P. songs, as well as the Pucifer track Grand Canyon to round it out, where they're all out there playing.
Josh, what is your perspective regarding the no cell phone policy?
I'm okay with it. It's not my gig. If the artist doesn't want it, I'm okay with that. If the artist doesn't care, I'm okay with that too. I don't record on my phone other than a few snippets just so I can send it to people to make them jealous. So like 15 seconds here and there. Other than that, I'm engaged. I'm enjoying the show. But I understand that people want to take video. And of course, the line is, yeah, you're taking video that you're never going to watch and nobody's going to watch on YouTube.
I will.
But Frankie will. Yes, Frankie exhaustively searches YouTube for this footage. So if you upload it, he will watch. Should we talk about Pablo's Hippos, Frankie?
Let's go.
Yeah. Pablo's Hippos, our first new Primus tune since 2022's Conspiranoid release, of course. This one checks in at 3 minutes, 26 seconds. Our credits, Primus, of course, Tim Alexander on drums, Larry on guitar, and I believe he's playing a guitar synth. Les on bass, and Maynard James Keenan on vocals and programming, as listed on your E.P.P.P. release. And this one is produced by Primus and MJK, mixed by Matt Mitchell, mastered by Dave Collins. My understanding is they recorded this during rehearsals, although I believe in one of the promo videos, Maynard said, I just started recording on the bus and we made these tunes. So it sounds like they were somewhat spontaneous and put together on the fly.
Sure.
And of course, it's new Primus, so of course I'm excited. And I've listened to this song quite a few times, and I enjoy it. And I do believe, Frankie, this is our first ever Primus track with Les ceding the lead vocals to a guest outside of the band. Of course, we had guest vocals on Tommy the Cat with Tom Waits. We had Larry Lalonde doing vocals for I Want It Now, but I believe this is the first time a guest vocalist has ever really overtaken a Primus tune. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely. It was to be expected, of course.
Maynard James Keenan being the lead of the other two bands, you would imagine he would want to collaborate with his buddies in Primus. How about this, Frankie? Give me a live history.
Pablo's Hippos has been performed at every stop of the Sessanta tour so far.
And I'm sure it will be performed at the rest. But here's the big question. Will it survive beyond Sessanta?
Extremely doubtful.
I'm going to say that I threw my hat in the ring for guest vocals on it with that stupid intro I did for this episode, Frankie. If you want to hear me croon on it, sure, I'll do it. Call me. Thanks, Lur. I really enjoy the intro. The programming part's fine, but Larry's intro riff is so fun and compelling to listen to. Let's hear it together, shall we? It's got a big sound, too. Oh, yeah. Big guitar sound, those trills up and down the neck, fantastic. Sounding heavy there. And I like a heavy sounding lure. I'll take that every day. Pachyderm, by the way, the pachyderm tone is pretty dialed in. We're used to that by now. That sounds good and nice and clanky. Tim's drums sound really full and crisp. And I would like to see that continue. This one has a really full sound. Also, a lot of atmospherics in this one, Frankie, with Maynard's programming and some of Larry's guitar synth. This one has more of a plodding pace, but it really does sound like a complete tune. There's a lot of little bits and pieces in here. They're not just doing the same thing for 3 minutes and 26 seconds. It does feel to me, maybe it's the power of suggestion, of course, because of the lyrics and the subject matter, but it does sound like as if we were on some rutted forest roads, Frankie, searching for some escaped hippos from a drug kingpin's compound. I don't know. Maybe. I'm going to play a couple other parts that really caught my ear. Trail over, hill over, river through valley we go. So right there, during that verse, it feels like a vehicle lurching through those ruts and over large stones and rocks and fallen trees, what have you, to make its way along this path. And then there's this shift that Les and Lur lead here. And I love that part, and I know I paused it, but the part preceding it sounds like Larry's playing a shape going up and down, playing a shape as he often does, and that's a pretty fun one. And then this part where Maynard's singing that descending line and Les is giving the backing vocals. This part too.
Here they come again, here they come again. Here they come again, here they come again. Here they come again.
I think that this tune didn't strike me at first, but listening back to it a bunch of times, I'm finding all these little parts. And so it's, once again, they put it together quickly, but it does have a lot of different little things going for it. And I'm really enjoying unpacking it as we go. And as I listen to it a whole bunch of times. But what are your thoughts so far, Frankie? What are you digging about this? What are you digging about this tune?
It's different. It's completely unique in the Primus catalog. Of course, given the circumstances in which it was created, it sounds unlike anything else they've done before, and that's a great thing. Is it a track I will keep coming back to? I mean, chronologically, yes, I'll always listen to it whenever I get to it, but out of context, I don't know yet. That's a great thing about new Primus music. It takes a while to click, but once it does, it's permanent. I mean, I absolutely love every single track on Conspiranoid. I mean, they're just 3, but they are practically part of my DNA by now. I know them inside out. And I wasn't totally crazy about Conspiranoia when it came out, but nowadays I absolutely love it. So Primus takes a while. So I'm sure that I'll eventually figure out Pablo's Hippos and I'll be completely familiarized with it, but I'm not in a rush. I'm still excited to listen to it once in a while and just be surprised at how different it is. So I'm letting it cool for a while, but I did enjoy it quite a bit.
It's interesting that you talk about giving it repeated listens so that it can sink in and giving it time. I think I do that too with new Primus tunes because I want to savor, because this is my favorite band, right? So I want to savor it. I want to dig into every little nook and cranny, and I want it to, I essentially want to have it.
I heard what you did there.
Yeah, thank you. I essentially want to have it etched into my skull so that I can I can retrieve it at a moment's notice and just kind of mull it over in my head and find that key. And I think a lot of people do that with their favorite bands and favorite artists and favorite tunes. I do have to say, it was certainly jarring, even knowing that Maynard was on the track. It was jarring to hear somebody crooning on a Primus track because we are so used to a different kind of vocal delivery that to hear.
That's why I'm glad they put out the instrumentals. I don't know if they did it to offer something different for those purchasing the E.P.P.P. at the shows, or they might have thought, well, maybe some Primus fans will want the song without Maynard. Yes, please.
There are probably a few. I appreciate his turn on this. Just he's got a nice voice, and it sounds good on this track. I think the instrumentals were mostly a draw to get people to buy the record for sure. But it is funny that you can get a side essentially without Maynard. And this is for Maynard's birthday. Pretty funny. The other thing I should point out, because I'm looking at the front cover of this record right now, that Fisher-Price record player that the 3-headed dining monster is about to dig into, I suppose. I had that record player when I was a little kid. I don't know what happened to it. I think my parents pitched it, but I've long wanted to find another one and play all my Primus records on it, just to hear how it would sound coming out of that tinny little speaker. Yes, so speaking of the crooning and Maynard and his vocal delivery, I really love his delivery of the Spanish phrase, Hippos de Escobar Pablo, because it preserves the rhyme and it just sounds good. I like what he's doing. because it's so rare on a Primus tune. There are some, but it's fun to sing a melody. Oh.
What's your perception about Les's bass tone?
I really like that clanky pachyderm tone. I think he's got it dialed in and has for a few years now. And it sounds great. I did want to play a little bit more, actually, of the tune because Les does have a nice part here at the end. And I don't know, once again, I haven't sat here and figured it out, but they are playing some kind of exotic mode here, whether it's, I don't know if it's Phrygian or Mixolydian. Somebody's probably yelling at me what it is right now. This exotic sounding scale or mode that they're playing in, I think fits the tone of the pachyderm here at the end. Oh, you got some sound bleeding through.
I was listening to the track myself.
Oh, I'll just press play. Who cares if that's in there? That's funny.
That part is great. And what Lur was doing was insane.
Yeah, at the crescendo, doing Lur things, and Tim sounds great. He got some of those signature tom rolls in. That crescendo sounds great. And then the pachyderm bass playing that exotic sounding line.
It's a great track, really.
It has a lot to it in 3.5 minutes, and that's what I appreciate about it. I'm still finding new little things.
Did you know, Josh, that in the late 1970s, Pablo Escobar kept 4 hippos in his private hacienda?
Yes, I've read about Escobar before. In fact, not long ago, I finished a novel called The Fruit of the Drunken Tree, which is set in Colombia in the 1980s when Escobar, I think he was killed in the early 90s. But this was set in the 80s when he was essentially terrorizing the country and running it himself as a drug kingpin. And the protagonist in the story is a young girl in the middle class. It's pretty much a broad view of what life was like for the middle class as well as the lower classes in Colombia at the time, and how and Escobar is like a running background character or a running thread throughout, and how he terrified so many people just by being who he was. But Escobar, definitely a historical figure of note and worth reading about. Obviously, he was a dastardly sort.
After his death in 1993, the hippos were considered too difficult to transfer and handle, so they were left free to roam the property. By 2007, they had the population had increased to 16, then 40 by 2014, and by December 2019, there were reportedly 120 hippos roaming free in Colombia. Recent studies indicate that the population is even higher than estimated, and they calculate that there could be between 181 and 215 hippos wandering free. And they do represent a serious threat to locals. There have been attacks, but none of them have been fatal. So as of the present day, Colombia is trying to sterilize the hippos in order to keep this population under control. They try to tackle 40 per year.
Yeah, there was a recent article about the sterilization program and how difficult it is because, one, hippos are massive. Many of them weigh 5,000 to 6,000 pounds. How are you going to tranquilize a 6,000 pound beast so that you can sterilize it or spay or neuter it, or however it is that they're going about it, when they're humongous, largely hiding in the wild or spending most of the day underwater or in water, because that's what hippos do. And they're mean sons of bitches. They don't care. They're not scared of skinny humans. You know, they'll kick your ass. So that's a tough thing for Colombia to have to deal with, because They are, of course, not native to Colombia, and they have no natural predators. And I was reading that drought is often a population control method, a natural population control method for hippos. Colombia, not known for prolonged droughts, and these hippos are reproducing like you wouldn't believe. So that's a tough situation, especially with the environmental degradation that will take place, has taken place, and will continue to take place. But they were certainly a curious thing for Pablo to import, and that he was able to get away with that is fascinating.
They are hostile and incredibly aggressive indeed, but Fiona is absolutely adorable. Have you seen her?
Who's Fiona?
Fiona is a hippo which was born at the Cincinnati Botanical Garden in 2017. There are literally hundreds of videos of her online, and she is just incredible.
Well, she's a baby. Wait for her to grow up. Then we'll see. When she becomes a teenager, it's all over. As with most species. Just that idea of hippos running around in Colombia is bizarre in and of itself. Escobar made it happen through his own network and his own gravitas, and now Colombia's paying the price. I heard that you have a live cut, Frankie.
Yeah, why don't we hear what Pablo's Hippos is currently sounding like on the Sessanta tour?
Now, once again, this was a stealthy recording by a daring attendee. We do not condone this kind of action when the artist has specifically asked you not to do it. Sorry for the teacher voice. Let's hear a little bit of what it sounds like live.
You're not gonna believe your eyes, trust me, you're gonna see this.
Oh, I think I heard Les's MIDI pedal there. Oh, yeah. Well, it sounds like a pocket recording, but on Les's side because that bass is prevalent. But it sounds like it.
I suddenly pictured Bob Cock singing Maynard's lines in my mind.
That's how it lives on after this tour. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. That is what we need. And I didn't know I needed it, but now I do. I withdraw my candidacy and put my full support behind Bob Cock singing this tune live. Every show for the rest of Primus's existence. Please. I'm in. Brilliant, Frankie. Brilliant. Wow. Pablo's Hippos. It's great to hear new Primus. I do have to say, we'll have to get to Primate's takes next time. Sorry, Primates. We'll get to your takes. But hey, if you want your voice heard on this track, go to patreon.com/Primus Tracks. The universal constant there is when I put the thread up for discussion, when I remember. You get to sound off there, and I'll read your opinions here on the podcast. So we'll have some miscellaneous debris next time, Frankie, on
Cool.
Pablo's Hippos. Pablo got tracked in 93 when they killed him, but Pablo's Hippos, you've finally, in 2024, been tracked. Next time, Frankie, we're actually going to be in the neighborhood of Pablo's hippos, considering the drug that Pablo traded in, because we're going to talk about no force field.
Awesome.
Drugs. Lots of drug references in no force field. Primates, thank you so much for listening. I'm excited always to talk about new Primus, so this was a fun day, fun episode. Frankie, I really hope we get even more new Primus coming down the pike soon.
Me too.
Bring it
Or
on.
or that third Delirium record. I can't wait for that.
Just keep
Something
dealing
is-
it. We just had our taste, and that was free. Now I got to buy more. I see what they're doing here. All right. Thank you so much, Primates. We'll see you soon. Later days.
Willie Mays.